Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe, and turn on notifications.
Savannah Mitchell was seen as a rising star. At 32, she was already the COO of one of the most promising startups in the digital health tech sector. From an early age, she became used to hearing that she was brilliant, determined, and tireless. The kind of woman who spoke firmly in meetings and smiled gently during interviews. Investors trusted her, co-workers admired her, and on the covers of specialized magazines, she was presented as a symbol of modern leadership. Within her social circle, her name was synonymous with competence. When she spoke, people listened. When she made decisions, there was rarely any pushback. Her image was carefully built and strategically maintained. She shared her life with Blake Armstrong, a more reserved man who preferred working behind the scenes. They had met during their MBA program. He was discreet, detail-oriented, and quietly intelligent. Their relationship was balanced, without big public scenes or scandals. At home, they lived a planned routine, marked by shared habits like Tuesday dinners or Sunday runs. To friends, they were a model couple. Each focused on their career, yet still found time to keep their bond alive despite daily busyness. Social media showed carefully selected moments, trips, events, exchanged glances amid conference speeches. Everything seemed to work. But Savannah carried more than just leadership roles. Behind the control and precise decisions, there was restlessness. A part of her craved adrenaline beyond limits. Sometimes this side surfaced almost imperceptibly, slight delays, deleted messages, glances lasting half a second too long. She knew how to hide. She knew how to disguise. And she did it with the same precision she used to close million-dollar deals. On that Friday, returning from a series of meetings in New York, Savannah walked through the front door carrying a weight in her chest she wasn't used to feeling. She held her purse in one hand, her phone in the other, eyes lowered. Blake was on the couch, laptop on his lap, reviewing a report. She asked him to shut down his computer, saying they needed to talk. He obeyed without questions. Savannah sat across from him and, with a firm voice, as if about to present worrying data to the company board, said, "The Wall Street Journal would publish an article on Monday." She and Gregory Langston, Titan Tech's CEO, had been mentioned. The journalist claimed the two were having an affair and that it was directly tied to confidential negotiations about a new partnership in health monitoring technologies. Savannah tried to steady the tremor in her hands. Blake remained motionless. She said she needed to be honest, that it wasn't planned. It happened after a long night filled with drinks at Gregory's Manhattan penthouse. It was supposed to be just a conversation about system integration but ended up turning into a physical encounter. She spoke trying to justify, but the words came out dry. She tried maintaining composure, but something inside her was already falling apart. Blake only listened. He didn't interrupt. He didn't show anger. He simply watched each word, like someone who already knew the answer before the question. His face, serious and focused, revealed no emotion. Savannah began noticing something different in his reaction. Blake had always been intense when it came to their relationship. They'd argued over much less. But here, faced with a revelation capable of destroying an entire marriage, he was too calm. That unsettled her. She reached for his hand, but he pulled away, simply saying they needed to leave the house. He suggested going out for dinner, talking somewhere more private. Savannah agreed. In her mind, this would be the beginning of a long reconstruction process. She believed admitting her mistake gave her a chance to start over. That there was still room to save what they had built together. What she didn't know was that Blake had already lost faith in rebuilding weeks ago. Now, he was just waiting for the right moment to act. Blake drove 40 minutes in complete silence. He took the road without explaining where they were headed, but Savannah didn't ask. They were in Virginia, near the border with North Carolina, and crossing a few kilometers would put them in another state. He already knew that roadside restaurant, isolated enough to guarantee privacy, and more importantly, located within territory where the law allowed recordings without the other person's knowledge. Savannah thought this stop was spontaneous, a chance to talk in another environment, away from home, perhaps an attempt to ease the tension. She was wrong from the first mile. They sat at a distant table. The place was simple. Blake chose it on purpose. No distractions, no loud music, no noise interfering with what he wanted to capture clearly. They ordered basics. She fidgeted with the napkin between her fingers, trying to find a way to begin. Then she looked at him and said there was more she needed to tell. She thought since he already knew about the affair with Langston, the worst had passed. But what followed would dismantle any fantasy of rebuilding. She started talking about an actor she got involved with during a conference in Los Angeles. She said it was temporary, a mistake made on impulse, and that she never contacted him again. She didn't use elaborate excuses. She told what happened, plain and simple. Blake listened attentively, not interrupting. His eyes showed no anger. And that bothered her. So she continued. She talked about a brief relationship with the former CFO of Visionary Corp, someone she shared exhausting work journeys with, and that the involvement developed after a long restructuring process at the company. She tried explaining it was a moment of vulnerability, that there was no emotion involved, but admitted that didn't justify anything. She felt the weight of her own voice. Blake took a sip of water and stayed silent. His posture didn't change, making everything even more uncomfortable for Savannah. She took a deep breath and then revealed what she never imagined saying out loud. During college, she supported herself financially by being a sugar baby for older businessmen. She received money, gifts, trips. And in return, offered companionship, attention, and in some cases, more than that. She said she wasn't proud of it, but also didn't want to keep pretending it never happened. She had carried that secret for years, hidden among the shine of her position, the image of a strong and inspiring woman. She held her breath between sentences, as if expecting a stronger reaction. A breakdown, an accusation, an outburst. But Blake was different. He didn't react, didn't raise his voice, didn't ask questions. He was there for a reason she hadn't understood yet. So she asked. She said she expected anger, that she deserved every harsh word he might want to say. But his coldness hurt more than any shout. Blake calmly replied that sometimes silence is more honest than an attack. She said she wanted to rebuild. That she wasn't telling all this to destroy what they had, but to try, somehow, to restart with truth. That she still believed in what they lived together, even if they had gotten lost along the way. That she was a different person now, even though her past choices still haunted her. Blake just looked at her and asked if it was possible to restart without respect. If love survives wounds opened silently, behind one's back. Savannah had no answer. Meanwhile, Blake's cell phone, discreetly placed in his jacket pocket, recorded every word. From the moment they left home, everything was being recorded. And he knew exactly where they were, within the borders of North Carolina, where he didn't need her permission to record the conversation. He hadn't planned to scream. He didn't want drama. His revenge was cold, meticulous, silent. And Savannah, with all her late confessions, handed each puzzle piece unknowingly. For her, that dinner was a plea for forgiveness. For him, it was evidence collection. The morning after the dinner in North Carolina, Blake left early. He told Savannah he needed some hours to think and asked her to stay home. She didn't insist. She was exhausted, emotionally drained. She imagined this distance was only the beginning of a necessary pause, a kind of internal mourning before any decision. While she made coffee, she still believed there was a chance, however small. But Blake was already driving toward downtown Washington, with a flash drive in his pocket containing the full recording from the previous night. He had scheduled a meeting with Elliot Carr, a reporter known for his rigor and ethics in investigative journalism. Elliot didn't write gossip, he wrote truths. He destroyed reputations with solid proof. He was the one who exposed inflated costs in major companies. When Blake sent the coded email with the words, "I have publicly relevant recordings involving a Titan Tech CEO," Elliot responded in under 5 minutes with the location and time for the meeting. Blake parked 2 streets above the cafe and arrived with a firm expression. He greeted Elliot, sat down, and handed over the device. The journalist listened in silence, headphones connected directly to his laptop. Every sentence spoken by Savannah the previous night turned into solid evidence. This wasn't rumor. Not speculation. It was a confession, with dates, names, and situations. It was everything Elliot needed to bring down a powerful public figure like Gregory Langston while exposing Savannah Mitchell's hidden past, one of the most admired executives in Silicon Valley. Elliot removed the headphones and asked if Blake realized what this would cause. Blake answered that he had already lost the woman he thought he knew. What he was delivering was simply the truth. And if it destroyed a career built on lies, so be it. He didn't want money or fame. He only wanted the public image to stop protecting private behaviors nobody else would tolerate anymore. Elliot said he'd need to verify some points, seek other sources, build a timeline, protect the publication legally. But he guaranteed the story would run. And when it did, it would have national impact. Savannah spent the day trying to reorganize her schedule. She canceled 2 investor meetings and rescheduled an interview she accepted weeks earlier. She was restless but hoped Blake's silence meant he was reflecting. She even considered finding a couples therapist. She texted a friend asking for recommendations. In her mind, there was still a possible path, even if twisted. She still didn't know that at that very moment, her name was circulating among Wall Street Journal editors with a tentative headline already under discussion. 2 days later, the article was published. In the first few hours, the site went offline due to excessive traffic. When it returned, Savannah's name was on the top line. The article exposed the content of the recording with transcribed excerpts. It revealed that Gregory Langston had personal relations with an executive involved in strategic decisions at Visionary Core. There were ethical, commercial, and legal implications. Advisors called emergency meetings. The stock market reacted immediately with drops in Visionary Core and Titan Tech shares. Savannah woke up with her phone vibrating non-stop. The first call was from the company's head of communications. The second, from the legal department. The third, from a major investor demanding an official statement. She read the article headline and felt her legs give out. She sat on the living room floor for minutes. She started scrolling through Twitter comments. Words like hypocrite, manipulator, and corporate shame appeared with every new post. She tried calling Blake, but the call wouldn't connect. She sent a short message, "We need to talk." No response. While she tried putting out fires, Blake closed the truck door in rural Virginia and continued his trip to his cousin Caleb's ranch in the southern part of the state. A place far from chaos, far from media, far from her. During the drive, he listened to podcasts about corporate ethics, as if trying to understand better the system that swallowed Savannah. Arriving at the ranch, he turned off his phone, not out of spite, but relief. He spent the night feeding the horses and later had dinner with Caleb and his wife, not mentioning a word about the scandal. It was as if that story had been left on the road. As if Blake had left behind not just Savannah, but the part of him that still cared about any justification. The recording became evidence, the article became headlines, and Savannah's public life became ruins. But Blake didn't celebrate. He was a sober man, and he knew no exposed truth brings back lost trust. It only reveals what many pretend not to see. And for him, that was enough. Savannah spent the following days trapped in a sort of haze. She slept little, ate out of obligation, and replied to messages with short phrases. Visionary Core's board scheduled an extraordinary meeting. This wasn't just a formal chat anymore. It was a veiled interrogation, with tense faces and fixed stares, some showing disappointment, others calculation. She tried defending herself with technical arguments, stating her decisions were always guided by company strategy, never personal interest. But the board members demanded more than justifications. They wanted explanations for the public exposure, damage to the company's reputation, and loss of narrative control. One of them, a veteran in the industry, cut straight to the point: "You handed ammunition to our competitors." Shareholders began pressuring the company. 2 expansion contracts were frozen. A European fund announced the end of its investment in the startup. The market reacted coldly. International headlines summarized the crisis in one sentence: when the image collapses, the numbers fall with it. The communications team didn't know what to release. Any official statement sounded weak compared to the reaction. Savannah called a press conference, wrote the speech herself, practiced for hours. When she stepped onto the makeshift stage, she looked at the journalists and saw in their eyes the same look she saw in Blake's that night in the restaurant: silent judgment. She spoke for 13 minutes. She denied favoritism, reinforced that personal relationships never influenced executive decisions. She admitted mistakes but tried reclaiming her journey as an entrepreneurial woman. When she finished, journalists began asking questions, and she realized no answer would ever be enough. The case had gone beyond facts. It had become a symbol. It was the downfall of a woman who until then represented competence and control. Behind the scenes, a former Visionary Core employee recorded a video saying she always noticed an environment of vanity and manipulation in leadership circles. The video went viral. Savannah's image became associated with arrogance. Even those who defended her began staying quiet. Gregory Langston tried contacting her, but she refused. She understood now that he was just another piece sinking along with her. Titan Tech's board temporarily suspended Langston. He released an open letter apologizing to his wife, shareholders, and the public, but omitted Savannah's name. She stayed silent. She realized now that, to him, she was disposable. A shield for his own reputation. The last few weeks showed Savannah that the same speed she was elevated to the top was now burying her in criticism, cancellations, and silence. The company appointed a new interim COO. She handed over her badge. She left through the back door without looking back. Messages decreased. Invitations vanished. She tried scheduling meetings with old colleagues, but most were busy, traveling, or had unavoidable commitments. It was the kind of loneliness that doesn't come from lack of people, but from lack of respect. Those who once admired her now saw her with caution, as if the shine had only revealed false reflections. During a sleepless night, she created a slide presentation. A new project. Consulting for female entrepreneurs wanting to avoid the mistakes she made. She planned mentorships on ethics, image, and difficult decisions. She named the project Smart Restart. She posted it online. In the first few days, reactions were lukewarm. Some sarcastic comments, others curious. A former fintech executive shared it saying everyone deserves a second chance. Some supported. Others said it was just another attempt to clean her image. She knew it would take time. But she didn't expect full acceptance anymore. She just wanted to fill the emptiness with something productive. Meanwhile, Blake stayed off social media, away from headlines. He spent days at Caleb's ranch, helping with the horses, cleaning barns, sleeping early. He was relearning what it meant to live in peace without burdens. One day, Caleb asked if he felt avenged. Blake replied that revenge wasn't what he sought. He said he only wanted the peace of knowing the truth had been exposed. That nobody else would be fooled by fake brilliance. He said that as a child, he lost his younger brother due to lack of medical care at a public hospital. He always blamed himself for not getting help fast enough. Since then, he hated empty promises. And what hurt him most about Savannah was realizing everything she sold as authenticity was, underneath it all, construction. That same month, Blake sold the house they had shared. He divided part of the proceeds and invested safely. 2 months later, while cleaning old emails, Savannah found a saved message. The sender was Gregory Langston. The subject, he already knows. The date, 3 days before the dinner in North Carolina. The message was short, direct. I told him everything. I thought you should know. Good luck with him. She closed the laptop, hands shaking. For the first time, she understood she never had control. From the beginning, she was just a player on a board that had already been overturned. And in that moment, everything made sense. The trip, the restaurant, Blake's silence. It wasn't impulse. It was calculation. Her greatest pain didn't come from exposure. It came from realizing that the one time she decided to be honest, it was already too late. Suspicious of your wife or daughter-in-law? Don't go through what we saw in the video. Check the link in the comments and get the ebook with valuable tips and investigator-approved sites to clear your doubts. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.